Have you ever had a day where you wished you could take your phone and hide from the rest of the world? For a lot of us, these feelings are sometimes mutual. But for some, this need for privacy is permanent and intense. They choose to live and work in places where company is super scarce. Folks in rural communities might joke that they live out in the boonies, but their busy communities pale in comparison to those isolated locations. Want to get away? Check out these most remote buildings and places. Foula. Foula, located in the Shetland archipelago of Scotland, is one of the United Kingdom's most remote permanently inhabited islands. The name Foula is derived from the Old Norse word fugle, which means bird island, and it justifies its name. The area of the island is only 12.7 square kilometers, but its natural heritage is exceptionally rich and diverse for such a small area. The highest point is Mount Snoog, which is 1,371 feet above sea level. Only 30 people live here. They earn their living by breeding sheep and ponies, which later are put on a ferry and taken to the market. The island is rich in historical significance. Foula community has a strong Norse tradition of folklore, music, and special festivities. Palmerston Island. Palmerston Island is a postcard-perfect paradise with no banks, stores, or roads. You have to sail 500 miles to the south of Rarotonga, the largest island of the archipelago, if you want to find these modern conveniences. James Cook named this tiny and remote island after Lord Palmerston, who was First Lord of the British Admiralty and father of a future British Prime Minister. The ancient name was supposedly Avarau, meaning 200 harbors. The only option for leaving the island is to hitchhike on yachts, which sometimes pass by the atoll. However, yachts only travel through this part of the South Pacific from May through September to avoid cyclones and maximize the trade winds, which are raging here at another time. All 62 residents are related. They share a common name and can trace their ancestry back to one man, William Marsters. An interesting fact is that locals are forbidden to marry each other, and if they want to stay on the atoll, they must bring their future husband or wife to the island. Maybe some of you would like to stay here not only as a tourist. McMurdo Station. Often called the last corner of civilization, McMurdo Station is located in a remote part of the southern polar region of the globe. It is the last place on the White Continent which can be reached by ship. Here is situated the American Research Center, the largest camp of its kind. Despite having most of the work carried out in the sunny summer months, life in McMurdo does not stand still either in winter. About 1,200 people live here in the peak of the season, while about 250 people remain to preserve the city during a lull. McMurdo is kind of a separate world with its special intentions and goals. It boasts a chapel, several ATMs, a golf course, 3 runways, a fire station, a post office, and 2 bars. Of course, McMurdo Station is too far away to come here for having a drink. However, the visit of this incredibly beautiful and interesting place is one of the highlights for guests on cruises around the Antarctic. McMurdo is definitely one of the most fascinating cities you could visit. Ascension Island. A geographical infant, Ascension Island is the tip of an undersea volcano which rose above the waves only 1 million years ago. It may still have been erupting in the 16th century. In some places, charcoal black lava looks like it cooled yesterday. The entire population of the island consists of 900 British and American military and telecommunications workers and their families. An interesting fact is that officially none of them are from there. The UK government denies the right of abode, turning citizens into temporary visitors. To enter Ascension Island, you must get the written permission of the Queen's representative. Hilltops across the island are festooned with aerial arrays and satellites. Be prepared to have your idyllic tropical bathing taking place against the backdrop of these steel palm trees. Getting here is not a trivial matter, but it is one of the most beautiful and interesting tropical islands in the world. St. Helena. St. Helena, a British overseas territory in the South Atlantic Ocean, is one of the most remote islands in the world. A volcanic outcrop, its area is only 47 square miles. Imagine Napoleon's dismay when he realized he was not being banished to America as he anticipated. For a long time, the only way to access the island was by sea, a 5-night voyage from Cape Town. Though a new airport was completed in 2016, test flights ran into serious weather-related problems, pushing the opening back more than a year, leading to the nickname World's Most Useless Airport. Its capital, Jamestown, is a uniquely situated city that offers much to see. Motuo, Tibet. Motuo, isolated in eastern Tibet, is the only county with no highway link to the outside world among all of China's 2,100 counties. This particular area not only boasts a unique environmental experience, but it's also considered a sacred paradise by the people who live and travel there. Enchanted doesn't begin to describe the magic of Motuo. Covering an area of 12,000 square miles, the mysterious Motuo County is mainly inhabited by the Menba and Luba ethnic groups with a population of about 10,000 people. There are no roads leading in or out, and not for lack of trying. The terrain is simply too volatile. Any progress gets cut short by one of the many floods or avalanches that plague the area. It's as if nature itself is preserving the sanctity of this secluded haven. All travel to and from has to be on foot, and it takes a 4-day hike through dense jungle to reach what's been considered one of the most remote populations on Earth. Utqiagvik. Utqiagvik is located north of the Arctic Circle. The name of this place could be translated as place where snowy owls are hunted. Home to more than 4,000 people, Utqiagvik is the 9th northernmost city in the world. When the sun sets here on November 18th or 19th, it doesn't rise again for 65 days. Even though residents of Utqiagvik enjoy 2 months of endless daylight in the summer, winters here are indeed long and dark, and pretty brutal. Although Utqiagvik is a modern community, subsistence hunting, fishing, and whaling are still very important to the local economy. Many residents who work full or part-time continue to hunt and fish for much of their food. The community is served by several churches, elementary, middle, and high schools, and a post-secondary education center. Residents also use a recreation center, which boasts a gym, racquetball courts, weight rooms, and a sauna. Tristan da Cunha. Tristan da Cunha, or also known as Tristan, is the world's most remote inhabited island. The nearest speck of land, St. Helena, is 1,500 miles away, and it's 1,750 miles away from the continent of Africa. The entire population amounts to about 300 people, and to get there requires special permission. It takes 5 to 6 days to get there, and the island is only accessible by boat, as there is no airship for planes to land. Only visitors escorted by guides from Tristan da Cunha are permitted to visit, and there are no permanent settlements on the island. Although this island is really isolated, you can call people using the same London, UK rates, and there is an internet cafe on the island. Although be it a very slow 256 kilobytes per second connection. Getting on and off the island can only be done on boat schedule, or you can hitch a ride on a fishing boat for about $800. If you're really into remote locations, this is one to consider visiting. Oymyakon. The remote village of Oymyakon in eastern Siberia is closer to the Arctic Circle than to the nearest city. Here in 1924, the temperature reached record lows of negative 96.16 degrees Fahrenheit. This is the coldest permanently inhabited place on Earth. If you were to go outside naked on an average day, it would take approximately 1 minute for you to freeze to death. Ironically, Oymyakon means water that doesn't freeze. With a day that varies from 3 hours in the winter to 21 hours in the summer, and due to the extreme subarctic climate, the ground is permanently frozen. So the roughly 500 residents of Oymyakon are mostly unable to grow crops. Therefore, their diet basically consists of reindeer and horse meat. Engines freeze so quickly that many cars are kept running all the time. Your eyelashes and saliva will freeze into painful little needles on your face as you walk down the street. Oymyakon has a relatively successful tourism market, though there is not a lot to do in it. Its appeal may be mostly due to the novelty of being in such a harsh climate, but also area-specific activities such as reindeer hunts, ice fishing, and the juxtaposition of enjoying the hot springs when the temperatures are in the -50s are available. Oymyakon has no hotels or restaurants, so you must arrange homestays with local residents. Sud Swamp. The Sud is one of the world's largest tropical wetlands. It is also the largest freshwater wetland in the Nile Basin. Its size is highly variable, averaging over 18,641 miles. But during the rainy season, depending on the inflowing waters, the Sud can extend to over 50,000 square miles, or an area the size of England. There is a half-meter thick layer of clay soil under the water that suppresses seepage. The aquifer was detected at a depth of 100 feet. The territory of Sud is the most fertile region of South Sudan. It contains large amounts of organic matter-rich silt. Despite the fertility of the Sud district and inexhaustible silt reserves, it is almost impossible to farm here on a large scale. Swamps are sucking in any agricultural equipment. Millet, maize, and beans are grown in some dry lands. But mostly crop production is represented by tiny gardens on the tussock. Animal husbandry is reduced to keeping a couple of goats per family. So the main source of food is the White Nile, where swamp people go fishing. There are no cities here, but there are detached villages of the clan or tribe, as a rule, of 2 or 3 dozen houses which are called tukul. This is a round hut with a conical roof and walls of branches plastered with a mixture of clay, manure, and straw. Due to the dampness, these houses have to rebuild an average of every 5 to 6 years. There have been plans proposed to create a channel for the Nile that bypasses the Sud and allowing more water to make it to the river downstream in the deserts of northern Sudan and especially to Egypt. However, this would mean the loss of the habitat for the rich abundance of plant life in the area, as well as the way of life for the tribes who live along and amongst the reeds and need the animals, plants, and water to survive. The civil war in Sudan, however, has stopped any and all building plans for water diversion from the Sud. We hope you liked the video. Let us know which one of these remote locations you would visit. And if you liked the video, then click subscribe and turn on notifications to be the first to know when a new video comes out. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.